Alive.
All right, all
Welcome,
right.
everyone, to the 45th episode of Playtest This, featuring famed published designer Jack Dunbar joining us again in the Playtest
Hey,
crew. I'm feeling very outbearded right now, and
yeah.
it's fine. It's fine.
Even
But
I'm feeling outbearded. So,
but I've got some work to do. Jack, tell us about yourself and how
yeah,
people might know you or support you.
sure. Yeah, I'm Jack Dunbar. New Kingdom Gaming is my company. Just publishing our first game, New Kingdom Gardeners. Got big announcements coming out this month. So if you're not
Ooh.
following along, you should check it out. I'm not going to say anything
We
more,
don't get a
but
sneak
yeah.
preview?
Well,
Ooh,
I've got new
nice.
games coming up. I'm going to talk about those. So,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. Good.
Um, but yeah, really excited to connect with our friend Matt today.
Hmm.
Um, So Matt, Ryan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Welcome.
Oh, it's my turn.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man, I hope I don't mess up my intro.
Don't mess it up.
Uh,
It's live.
hey,
There's
I'm
no editing.
Mathue. Right, I'm Mathue. Thank you for having me. Um, I own Envy Born Games, and I'm an indie publisher. I've designed my first two games. I designed they're like drinking party games. They're called Don't Get Drunk and What the Pong. Don't Get Drunk does really well on Amazon, but I've transitioned into more like hobby style games, for lack of a better word. But I love the board game industry, and I'm having a lot of fun. My last campaign, Mind Your Business, funded last year, and I fulfilled recently. And now I have a tiny game series. There's three different games, three unique, three different themes, three different mechanisms, and three unique things about each game. And we're gonna play Sirens today, which I'm really
Yeah.
excited to show everyone.
Oh,
Now
sweet.
you're
We
you're
also, oh, go ahead,
I
Evan.
was just gonna say you're doing that three small game thing. That's coming up in a Kickstarter soonish, right?
Yeah, so I don't have an exact date, but the idea is like mid to late September. And this is actually, well, it's like
Nice.
blurring it, but there's three games in it in a little tuck box kind of situation if you want. So
Very
Nice.
cool. Is the idea going to be pledge like you can get each game, or you pledge and you get all three of the games in a box set?
so we'll have different tier levels, but yeah, if we'll have a print and play for the print and play community, because I think that's a really big growing demographic and makes
Yeah.
games more accessible to people internationally because of shipping and VAT and stuff like
Right.
that.
Mm.
But yeah, if you're only interested in Sirens, you can just back Sirens. But there's going to be a bundled deal where it's, a discounted price point for all three
Right.
games with a bunch of cool extra components that are just art changes or better quality components kind of thing. It wouldn't be like extra gameplay or stuff like that, because I don't like when there's exclusives that are change the game,
Fair.
when it's
Hmm.
art, it's whatever.
Right. Fair.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, there is some negative feeling about that too, because it seems to be very unpopular with backers. If you go to places like Board Game Revolution or the Board Game Group, you'll hear people talking about how exclusive gameplay is kind of a no-go
Yeah.
for a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely. I agree too. Like, I don't like when it's exclusives that change the game or the play or extra like a mini expansion or something, but when it's like an art thing that's not necessary, just a nicer component, I'm okay with it. And me too. It's just like a way to kind of give a little extra to people support me early on to say thank
Hmm.
you.
Hmm.
Because again, it's not changing the game. It's just like, hey,
Yeah.
this card has foil on it. I hope you enjoy that,
Yeah. It's a
Hmm.
delicate balance to find stuff that
Yeah.
like people are stoked to get and other people aren't pissed that they didn't get.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
can't later get at
Yeah, it's
all,
it's
you
a
know?
it's a tough
Yeah,
like to get that
yeah,
just right.
yeah.
Because you see
Well,
both sides.
we did skip over you, Evan. We forgot to
Oh,
Oh,
introduce you.
oh.
wait,
Oh,
Evan's here?
Oh,
who
yeah.
is that guy? I designed After the Empire. The expansion should be coming out next year. Um, I am pretty sure I just signed a game, but I don't have
Nice.
the paperwork yet, so we'll see how that goes. And then what else? In Emily Willix's Bah Humbug, I made one of the little games in there. It's a little taking
Nice.
game
That game's
using that
awesome.
unique card set. And what else? I'm gonna make so many games, and you should go buy all of them, multiple copies of each one, and forever. That's what I've got.
What convention can people find you at next?
Oh gosh, I usually go to Origins, Gamma, sometimes Gen Con. I will be going to Gen Con, and then I'll be at BGG Con, plus like a little tiny local one in, geez, Atlanta, Kentucky, somewhere over there, somewhere on that side of the country.
Local, not to you.
Not to me. It's like it's like
Southern Pride.
It'll be no, it'll be like
Oh.
12 people,
Oh,
like renting
okay.
a house and just playing games.
Oh, sweet.
But yeah, so next one is Gen Con,
Nice.
which me and Mathue will also be at.
Yes.
So you can hit us
Gen
both
Con.
up.
I'm excited for that one.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be fun.
I heard it's
Jealous
big.
of that and Matt's beard now.
I know, right?
It's
Wait,
the beard wars.
Matt, do you also have hair on the top of your head?
I have
Yes,
a
he
mullet.
does.
I have a
yeah.
mullet.
Sure.
I know. It's just
Oh,
it's
my.
glorious.
it hurt
Oh,
it
it's
hurts
just
to
it just
even
grows
look at.
too rich and thick. It's just too rich and thick. It's too beautiful.
That's what
It's
that
a burden.
is what
It's a
makes
burden.
you that's what makes you TikTok viral, Matt.
Yeah, it's the mullet and the beard. That's what it is.
Totally.
Oh my gosh. I'm fine. I'm fine.
TK says, "What up?" Trevor says hi. Adam
What's up,
says
fellas?
yellow.
The usual suspects.
Yeah.
Love it.
Okay, cool. Let's get into it. Give us a teach.
All right. Yeah. Hopefully, it's been like 6 conventions now, so I should have the teach down pretty well. I'm hoping.
That's not how it works for me.
I
get
but
worse.
we will see.
I get worse at it. It's amazing.
Are we ready, or do we have to load anything up?
No, I'm
Totally ready.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. So this is Sirens. It's a 1 to 2 player game. Today we're going to be playing the cooperative 2-player mode, obviously. And the lore of the game goes, if you look at this Kraken attacks the ship of sailors and sinks the ship. So you and
Spoiler alert.
Jack, who will be playing Sirens, to see this and seize the opportunity to sing a beautiful song to lure these sailors to your side of the cove.
Mm-hmm.
And the way you're going to do that is through card drafting and having the highest scoring song at the end of the round. So you're probably going to want to know how the song scores. So let me tell you about that. So basically, as you're drafting cards, there's going to be 2 rounds of drafting where you draft 3 cards in each round. And after the first round, you'll place your first 3 down, and then your opponent will have some kind of idea of what you're building, and they might be able to hate draft against you, or they might just focus on what they're doing. Mm-hmm. After that, you'll do another round of drafting. But the way they score is there's 4 things on the cards that score. So the first thing you want to look at is this top row of hearts in the brown area at the top of each card. So each of you are going to have a song of 6 cards. Sometimes it's 7. It depends on the universal rule, which I'll get into. But this song here has 5 stars. So if the opponent's song had 7 hearts words, they would have 2 points. You score the difference between the hearts. Oh. Easy enough, right?
Sure.
So one song has 5 hearts, the other has 7. The person with more hearts gets 2 points. And we have a little score tracker here, so we could, move that to the 2-point marker there. The next thing that scores is going to be the colored notes themselves on the cards. So you want the same colored notes grouped up together. So you can see here, there's 2 red cards next to each other. And basically, they multiply by themselves. So it's 2 red cards, so it'd be 2 times 2 for 4 points, right? If I take this away, well, hold on. If I take 1, if it's 1 red card, it's 1 times 1 for 1 point. Okay. So you want to have the same color cards next to each other. Now you might see next to these red cards right here, there's a multicolored card. That's a wild. So you could declare that to be anything you want. So you could say that's a red card. So now you have 3 red cards next to each other, which would be 3 times 3 for 9 points. So when you do that, each section of colored cards is considered a part. So that would be 1 part because it's 3 red cards. Mm-hmm. This here would be one part because it's a blue on its own, and then this is a part as well. So what's important to note is in your song, you must have three separate parts. Otherwise, your song won't score. So this is so people can't do all red, because that would just completely break the game. So you have to have at least three parts.
Interesting.
And just so you know, there's four colors. There's yellow, green, blue, and red. And then there's two wild cards as well, which are the multi and can be anything you want.
So
Another thing to note. Yeah, go ahead.
If you wanted to score this song, you would have to declare this a different color than red or blue.
No, that could be red, because the parts aren't the colored notes. It's when they're together. So this is one part because it's three red. This is one part because it's two blue. And then this would be one part because it's on its own.
Oh, okay.
This blue card here. It's still
I see.
Because it's not connected.
Because it's separated. Okay.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
And then another thing to kind of note about the wild, if you say that this wild is red, the multicolor circle and arrow there will also match the icons on the red cards as well, because that's what we're going into next, which is called flow. So if you look at the actual player aids here, it kind of shows you the colored cards that cards like to flow into. So red cards like to flow into yellow cards, yellow cards like to flow into green cards, etc. So right here, we don't have a great setup for it. So let me just pull out some cards to give an example, I guess, real quick. Let's see. Nope. Here we go. All right, so with the new cards that we have in front of us, if you're looking at them, you can see that each card has a little colored icon that's unique on the left side and an arrow that's color-coded on the right side. So if that arrow matches the color of the card that it's going into, it's called flow. So right here, we have 1 point of flow, right? Right here, it's a yellow arrow going into red, so that doesn't match. So that's no flow there. This is yellow into green. That's not a flow. This is blue into blue, and a blue arrow into a blue circle. So that's flow. So your second flow is worth 2 points. It's okay that they're not right next. The flow is not continuous.
Yellow into green is not flow?
No, well, it'd have to be a yellow arrow. It's a yellow arrow into the card next to it. You'd want that card to be yellow. So yellow likes to flow. Yellow cards like to flow into green. Red cards like to flow into yellow. That's why the red has a yellow arrow on it, because it likes to flow into a yellow card. This is a red card.
Oh, so it's not about
flow into yellow.
It's not about the symbols. It's about the color of the card.
In a sense,
or both. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the player aid thing is a new thing we added, and we're kind of testing around. It's like a new thing. It seems like sometimes it confuses people, sometimes it doesn't. So it's one of those things we're kind of working on. But as you can see here, like blue likes to flow into red, and then if you look here, this is a blue card, so it has a red arrow showing I'm a blue card and I like to flow into red. And then because there's a red card next to it, that's why it's flow. And then this card saying I'm a red card, but I like to flow into yellow. And then the next card next to it's red, and it's like, oh, I don't like that. If that makes more sense. But anyways, your first flow is worth 1 point. Your second flow is worth 2 points. Your third flow is worth 3 points. Your fourth flow is worth 4 points. So, you know, the more flow you have, the higher it's going to score for you. And then the last and final thing that's going to score on a card are these. They're called charms, or bases, if you will. You can see that if you're able to match them up, they'll make a pair. So right here, you have a vase with a shark tooth with another vase with a shark tooth that match. So you're going to get the points that are denoted next to it. So you get 4 points for that. Oops. And then you can see on some of your other cards, you have vases as well, but they're not paired up. So they're not going to give you any points. So like if this blue was here next to that, that'd obviously be a pair, and that would count as a vase or a charm. So those are the 4 things that score on the cards. Now, the thing that changes up the game and makes it unique and kind of fresh and interesting is the universal rule, which is right here. So at the beginning of each round, I'm going to deal each of you 4 cards. and you're going to look at them. You'll keep one and pass 3, and you'll keep doing that till we get down to 1 card. But before we start drafting cards, I'm going to flip over one of these sailor cards. And if you look at the sailor cards, they each have kind of a unique icon at the bottom middle portion of the card. That's called the universal rule. So if I flipped over this card, we would look at it, and then we would go to the universal rule card, and then that's going to tell us what it means. So if that was our universal rule, and we look at this, it's saying our 6th card, we're actually going to draft blind instead of looking at it. Another example of a universal rule, if you're looking at it, is the X means that hearts have double value. So maybe in that drafting round, you want to focus on drafting cards that have more hearts because you're going to score better off of it. How do I that flip? For instance, here's another one, like the shells or the charms. When you have the vases that aren't complete, it's actually negative a point. So during that drafting round, you want to focus on making sure you complete those vases or avoid drafting them completely, kind of thing. So there's a universal rule that's going to change up the gameplay, because there are dominant strategies, and people are like, why don't I just do this? Well, there's a universal rule that's going to mess all of that up for you. So that's why you want to do that. But that's basically how the game plays. And then the other really cool and unique thing about this game, which I can't show you on this, unfortunately, is that at the end of the game, if you take your 3 cards and put them under your other 3 cards, I have an app in development. You take a picture of it, and then it will literally play back the song that you made with your cards.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah, so I hired an actual composer to make a song for this game, and it was a bit of a challenge because I was like, hey, each card needs their own like sheet music, and also they're going to be in a completely random order every time the game's played, so make sure they sound good. And some songs sound better than others, but in theory they all sound really good. And I got to show the app at Origins and RageCon a little bit, and people absolutely loved it, even though it wasn't functioning 100% correctly. But that's the like unique thing about this game that I'm really excited about too. So,
that's cool.
Yeah.
What is this Orpheus?
So Orpheus is how you play the solo mode.
Okay, so that's just for solo.
And I don't know how much everyone knows about Greek mythology, but you know, Orpheus was a very talented musician in Greek mythology. Some say he was a demigod, some say he was just a human, but he was actually with Jason and the Argonauts, if you're familiar with that story at all. And when that boat was passing where the sirens were, Orpheus played his lyre so loud that none of the sailors could hear the sirens singing and be lured to them. So he's actually an enemy of the sirens, if you will.
Okay. Interesting.
But yeah, he was a very talented musician, basically. So it was just kind of fitting because of Greek mythology, lore, and stories to have him as like, you know, the solo big bad guy, you know, since you're playing the role of the siren.
Oh yeah, interesting. Nice.
Yeah, I like Greek mythology a lot. I mean, I don't know everything about it, but I really find it fascinating.
Yeah, it's very cool. I like the art and the like theme. It sticks out.
Yeah. Well, also our illustrator actually studied like Greek pottery for a while before making the art for this game.
Yeah.
And initially all of the colors used were colors that were available during that pottery time of art. And the only thing that sticks out is the green. Green, we did it because originally when we were making the app, it was reading each note, and now it reads the actual card itself. But it was trying to read the note itself, and it was having problems with the color we initially were using. So we changed it to try and make it stand out a little bit more. Yeah, but we actually had professors that are like, I teach teach history or Greek history or whatever, you know, the study was called, but he's like, this is the exact pottery age of this era to this era. And I was like, oh, thanks, man. Like, it felt really good. It was validating.
That's cool.
Great.
Yeah. So kudos to Gabby, who's the artist. She did a really amazing job with this, put a lot of TLC into it.
Nice.
So if you have questions, I can answer them. If not, we can kind of just start the game, and you can pick either the blue or red siren.
Is there any difference between the two? or
No,
Now,
they're
this
exactly
was,
the same.
You said this was co-op?
Sorry, competitive. It's
Okay.
solo and competitive.
Okay. I was like, I'm missing the co-op nature.
Yeah, no, there is no co-op in
Okay.
this.
yeah,
My
I thought you
bad.
said co-op at the beginning too.
I
was
might
like,
have said
oh,
co-op instead of competitive,
it's-
so I apologize for that.
Okay. Well, I'll
Solo
be
and
the
competitive. I apologize.
since you're the red player,
Oh yeah, that kind of makes sense.
I'll be the blue player.
All right.
All
Should I be
right,
red?
so yeah, you be
Okay.
red.
Cool.
So you can pick your side of the table you want to start building your song on or whatever, but basically I'll deal you each 4 cards and you can play openly because you're gonna see.
Where are you gonna be, Jack? Right there.
I'm
Right here.
Hey Jack, why don't you just
Jack's
go
there.
right underneath me? Can we do it in 2 lines?
Yeah.
Oh,
you can
sure.
do that.
Yeah.
Just so I can keep it nice and tight.
Yep.
Cool.
Oh, you mean for YouTube? Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
That there.
Nice.
It's here.
Yeah.
Boom. We're ready to go.
Oh,
Cool.
yeah.
It looks good now. All right, so each of you will get 4 cards. You can play them. I know in TTS you can like put them in your hand and keep it private. Normally when you're playing this, you would have this private in your hand so the other player is not really seeing it. But it's not a huge deal because you're passing it to the next, you're passing it to them and they're going to see it.
So I'm just
anyways.
taking one of these.
Yeah, so you'll keep one and you don't play it yet. You can just put it next to your siren face down kind of.
And you said flow is worth how much?
So the first flow is worth 1, the second will be worth 2, the third will be worth 3. So
Okay.
if you're going for flow, it's something you want to focus on. So before you draft cards, though, let me reveal the universal rule.
Oh yeah.
So the universal rule is that triangle. Okay, so this is saying that the charms or the vases I was showing you before, it actually wants them to not match. And if they don't match, it's going to add up both of the sums of those numbers. So if you have a 2 and a 4 next to each other, it's going to be worth 6 points. So you actually want to draft those and connect them with non-matching vases or charms.
How do you know they're
Do
not
we-
matching?
One has like a horseshoe on it, or no, not a star. What's the star? The seahorse? The star?
Yeah.
Why am I brain
Starfish.
farting?
Starfish.
No, I mean
the star
on this rule
So
card.
one has a starfish, one has
The
a
horse.
Oh,
Horse star?
sorry.
It just says all charms match and sum both numbers.
Right. So the universe, how did we know that's the universal rule?
Yeah.
Or I flipped over a card over here, and at the bottom of this, it shows us a symbol a little bit bigger, but you can see there's like a little.
But I'm saying the
triangle on it.
universal rule says all charms match and sum both numbers.
Yeah. So any charms that you put next to each other are going to match. Like they'll count as a matching pair.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying that the ones that do match don't count for that. Okay.
No. The ones that do, they'll still count, but they'll
cool.
just be the same normal one. And then
Got it.
in the book, the manual, there's more descriptions about it too. And we're going to add some more to it to make it, so you can refer to it if you're not understanding the little, universal rule card.
Got it.
But that's something we're working on as well.
Cool.
But yeah, so you will keep one of the cards in your hand, and then you're not playing it yet. You'll play it at the end of this drafting round. So keep it secret still.
So just pass the other 3 to the
Right.
keep one, pass 3.
Yes.
Okay.
Those are for you, sir.
Okay. And then oh wait, what was the one I kept? Okay. I always forget.
That's what when I'm playing the game in person, I keep one in like my left hand and the other 3 in the right kind of thing.
Oh,
and then when I
yeah.
have 2 and 2, then I get really confused and I'm like, what did I do?
What have I done?
Mistakes were made.
What points do you get for having the most hearts?
You'll get the difference. So if your opponent has 1 heart and you have 5, you'll score 4 points.
There you go, Evan.
Okay. I'm almost there. My brain is braining. Go
Yeah.
brain. Okay.
I like how the like C matches. The art is cool
Yep.
Yeah.
that way.
Thank you.
Let's see. Okay, so
All right, so now you'll keep one. The last card we're just going to put back into the draw pile and shuffle it in. So if you're getting rid of that, just we'll just throw it on top of the deck here.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay, okay.
So now what you're going to do with the 3 in your hand, you'll place them down on the table in the order that you want them to be. The important thing to note is you can never change the order of these 3 cards. We're going to do one more drafting round. So once they're placed, you can build to the left and right of them. So it's not necessarily like your siren is there, like your siren, there's still an open space.
Oh,
kind
I
of.
see.
Yeah.
I see.
Okay.
But
case, these 3 are there. They go together.
Yeah, those 3 you cannot change the order of them anymore.
Okay.
Okay. So then I will deal out 4 more cards. Oh, let me shuffle this real quick because I don't think I did that. Also, I told you about the wild card if you see that in case that comes up, but it can be anything you want. Because sometimes I forget to mention that. Then people are like, what does this card mean?
Yeah.
So then do we draft these again?
Take the 4 into your hand, and then we're going to do the same drafting thing. And then when you have 3 cards left, we'll build to the left and right of what's called your route now. And then we will score those cards.
Okay, great. Oh, whoops.
Uh-oh, I saw it. I know what's happening now.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Okay. Let's see. So
and also, I don't know if anyone knows, I know Evan does, but if anyone else knows, is George from Oniro. He makes all the videos for Kickstarters.
Georgiadis?
Yes.
Heck yeah, I know George.
So the back of the cards, I always tell everyone that's George.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, nice.
I'm like, George, I put you in my game because you're such a good friend of me. He's like, that's not me. I'm like, that's you, George. It's a Greek guy.
It is you.
I
freaking love George.
Oh, he's the best.
Yeah.
And one of the Kickstarter exclusives is meeples of those, actually. So I told George I was going to tell everyone that everyone in the industry that loves them, like, you can get your George meeple today by backing my campaign.
Nice.
I love it.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Well, this is just tough, isn't it? This is our 3rd card, right?
Yeah, so whatever you get rid of is gonna be discard.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we just play them. Okay, got it.
Yeah, once Evan's ready.
Everyone's waiting on me. All right, discard this one.
All right, perfect.
And then we play them simultaneously.
And just to the right and left of what you have out, basically.
Okay.
All right.
Lots of hearts.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice.
Ooh, actually, maybe this one should go on the left. Make myself another.
All right. And if you like where it's at, you can see, then you can put your little player aid next to it, and you can see your siren is singing off of the cliff into the water where the sunken boat is now at with all the sailors.
Nice.
Yeah. So the first thing you're going to look at is the hearts, as you kind of mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And then
got 7.
3 points.
3 points for Evan, right?
Yep.
All right. So then the next thing that we look at is the colored notes. So if we look at the top row first, I guess. So this is 1 blue alone. So that would be, if you guys remember,
just 1 point.
Right?
Yeah.
1 yellow, 1 point. So we're at 2 there. Here's 2 green. 2 times
4.
2 4.
So 6, 7,
5,
so we're at
7,
8, right?
8 points
Plus the 3.
So 11.
So we'll be at 11. So now if we do blues,
I think I also have 8
2,
points.
3, 4.
Well,
5,
what do you want
6.
your wild to be?
Oh, 4, 5,
red.
6, 7, 8.
Okay, so 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're at 8. Next thing we're gonna look at is flow. That doesn't flow. This does, so that's 1 point. This does, so that's 2 points. So a total of 3 now.
Yep.
And that does for 3, so that's 6 more
Yeah.
points. So 17.
Mm.
And then here, red doesn't flow into the red, obviously, because it has a yellow arrow.
Mhm.
That's a flow for 1. That's a flow for 2, so 3. And that's it. 3 more points.
Mm. Okay.
So you're up to 11. And then the next thing we're going to look at are the charms. So this one's worth
Okay.
5. And this one's worth 5. So Evan gets 10 more points to 27.
I also got 10. So
And you
Oh, wow.
also got 10. So you are going to
21.
lose by some points there. So what happens is Evan wins this sailor card. And the first player to 2 sailor cards is going to win the game.
Oh, okay.
And in theory, if you want it, you could then now take a picture of your cards and it would play the song back to you. And then you would play second round, obviously.
Okay.
Now, the important thing to note is, and people comment on this a lot, and they're like, why is it like that? And then I tell them why. But Evan now has an advantage of 1 heart going into the next game. So winning first has an advantage to it. And the reason that is just really for thematic reasons. You won the admiration of a sailor because your song was better than the other. And it's not a 300 or a 3-hour long row, so it's okay that the advantage goes to the player winning.
Yeah. Fair enough.
We will deal 4 more cards to each player and reveal a new universal rule this round.
Have you thought about making this a 3-hour Euro?
I have. All right.
Evan would
so
like
this
that.
universal rule
It's true.
is actually on the flip side. So you're gonna play 7 cards this round. So instead of discarding the last card in the second drafting round, you'll actually just pass it to the opponent and they'll have to play that.
Okay, cool.
So this actually is the only time and opportunity where players can actually play 5 colored notes next to each other for a huge scoring advantage, and then 2 cards that are different. So we'll reset the score tracker, and you guys know how to do it, so you can go from there.
All right. I beat you by 27, is that right?
You had 27 to 21 before.
Yeah, but I think I beat him by 27, or at least 46. Right? So at the end of this round, you have to beat me by 46. It's creative math.
Is that
It's creative math.
true? No, that's not true. Okay,
What
good.
kind of hacks are going on right now that I don't understand?
It's not true. Okay.
So good luck.
Okay, let's see.
Boop, boop.
Easy decision. So that one's trashed.
What's the
Yeah,
deal?
so this one is
deal with this little angel.
This one's still trash. Angel.
This little angel symbol on one of my cards.
Can I see it?
No.
Oh, it's so a lot of the cards just have some kind of thematic artwork to it that's in the same color of the note. So that's just another yellow showing it's a yellow card.
Oh, okay.
The borders also show the color of the card. And then like some have a fish, some have like a seahorse, some have a boat.
Get rid of this sucker.
But it's always in the color. All right, so those are gone. So now you play these 3 cards in the order you want. Ooh, nice.
So how does it
nice pairing there?
Yeah, that is a nice pairing. I have an even better pair.
What?
I think. I don't know. Maybe
Ooh,
not.
yeah, those are both really nice.
I'll tell you what I think about that. I don't like it.
So
Alright.
is it Do you score higher? Let's see. So flow is consecutive, right? So if you have a flow, so it goes 1+2 if they flow together for 3.
Yeah, plus
Like if you
3,
have 3
plus
cards
4.
in a row, it's 3 points.
They don't have to be in a row. Like you could have one flow in
instance.
between that doesn't match, and it'd be okay.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Okay. All right.
So yeah, the stronger. Because somebody asked me the other day, they're like, "Why wouldn't I just do this?" And I'm like, "Well, the universal rule, and also because they were forgetting about needing 3 separate parts in a song." But they're like, "Why wouldn't I just get the same colors?" I'm like, "Well, they can't all be the same colors, and also somebody that gets flow could beat that as well." But the universal rule kind of changes up what strategies to go after, because there's a universal rule that says flow is only worth 1. So in that round's like you probably don't want to focus on flow, you know. But now we have a little bit of information what if each player is kind of doing right here. You're tied on hearts, pretty much tied on points actually. I think Jack is actually winning by 1 at this point.
I doubt it.
No, actually, I think it's tied actually because Evan has the bonus heart. I forgot about.
That's awkward. We're taking our second card right now, right?
Yes.
Is that true? Yes.
I think.
Yes. All right, Evan.
Don't do it.
I'm ready.
Don't do it to me.
So now it's like whatever card you're keeping, you're giving your opponent the other card basically, because again, you're playing 7 cards this round.
I'm gonna keep this one and give you this one. They come from a land down under.
So this last card, I pass it, but then I just take Evan's.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now you're gonna get to play 4 cards.
My.
Oh. Cool.
Oh my. So we're gonna go like this.
Yeah, there you go.
Read them and weep.
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 It's got an H.
Pete. Got some creative songs being built here.
There we go. Will your app read a 7-card song?
It can. Again, it's a little rough, so it's in development still. Sometimes it misses a card or adds an extra card. It's being worked on, but you'd have to move them underneath. So it'd have to essentially look like this kind of. Otherwise it wouldn't function because it's just too long of a picture and the camera's too far out then.
Makes sense.
Oh, okay.
All right. So if we look at the hearts, we do the heart math, and don't forget Evan has a bonus heart.
I have 6.
I've got 5 hearts.
All right.
So
And you have
I have
6?
so I get 1 point.
You have 1 point here.
Yeah, come on.
And then if we can just look at Evan's, I guess, notes. So we have 4 for the 2 yellows, 5. I'm assuming this is blue.
It is blue.
Wow, 16 for this.
Yeah.
Plus these for 4.
21.
So it's 21.
Yeah.
Feels good, man. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 colors.
Which color should be red? Red.
All right, so it'd be 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, red.
So 1, 2, 3 plus 4, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, 9.
So you're up to 10. So you're at a little disadvantage right now. So now we'll look at flow. So 1, 2, 3, and that's it for that. 4. We got flow here. 1, 2, 3, 6.
Wow.
Nothing there. This would be 4, so 10, and then 5, so 15.
Wow.
Nice.
So up
Come
to
on.
25, just like
There
that.
we go. I like it.
Has been gained. And then we're looking at charm zone. I think somebody has advantage in 3, 4, 5. So
What?
29.
And I just have
Wait,
And you
why
have
isn't this
3.
one worth 6? Or am I missing?
So the universal rule, that one universal rule is when they combine their opposing scores. When they're the same normally, it's just the 3 points. It's just showing 3 points.
Okay, and you gave me 2 for this one.
Yeah, so you got 5 total.
I got 5 total. Okay, got it.
And then Jack got 3. So he literally falls 1 point short there. You know what the difference was?
What?
That heart.
That heart from his first win. Yeah, I hate that. You should change it.
That's how that works.
It cost me everything.
Yeah, give the heart to me. I'm behind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so you win the second sailor card, and you are the best siren singing siren of the Greek seas.
Yeah.
And
the game is
all the sailors to my yard.
Your songs bring all the sailors to your yard.
Exactly.
Not milks, the songs. Exactly. But yes. So that's Sirens, and again, then there's solo mode, and there's a competitive. They're obviously travel size, smaller games.
Yeah.
It's not a 3-hour Euro, but
that's a missed opportunity.
Something you can play quickly, and it has the fun, unique musical element to it where I can't actually read sheet music. So people ask me like technical music questions all the time. Like, I'm going to have to get back to you on that. But there's the app that plays the music for people, just fun. But people that understand sheet music read it and can, see the music, which they really appreciate. So.
What is this symbol with the moon?
So the
is that for solo mode?
Wilds? Yeah, so it's actually something I forgot to tell you guys about is the 2 wilds actually. So we have the sunset and the sunrise basically. You can kind of see right there. There's a sunrise coming up.
Yeah.
And there's also 2 mythological beasts there. I'm not going to try and say their names because I can't pronounce them.
Is it
Scylla and Charybdis?
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I can't say them. I've tried a lot. As well, just to add a little bit more art to it. I call this the Sarlacc pit card, but
the Sarlacc, sure.
But if you keep the if you have both of the wilds in the same part of a song, you actually get 3 bonus points, which is kind of shown right there at the top of it. Right.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I do it right there.
Okay.
So there's an advantage to having those as well.
Interesting. Okay.
I've actually wrestled with the idea of giving them wild charms as well, like maybe one on the left, one on the right, but I don't know. We're working on that.
I mean, it
might be that might be easier.
Strong.
Oh, I thought you meant like instead of
no, I meant like they would have
also
a charm on them as well that you could declare to be what you want, but we haven't decided anything on that.
Oh, I see. Like on the opposite end.
Yeah.
So that interesting.
Well, if they were on opposite ends and then you put them like that, they could match still, but ideally you'd want to match them with cards that weren't wilds, But yeah, it's not the heaviest game or anything by any means. We've changed the art quite a bit from some of the conventions we've gone to. The universal rules actually used to be text on the cards, the bottom of the cards. We changed up some of the colors, the layout of the cards, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And now some of the newer things are like the flow chart, which we're trying. I might color code the arrows, or I might remove it. I don't know. I don't know how necessary it is after somebody reads the manual.
Right.
Because I think that's kind of the real true test is like if people have questions after they read a manual without knowing the game. And then Orpheus is pretty challenging as well. And the way Orpheus works is he starts with a card, then you're going to draft 2 cards in your hand, keep one and give one to Orpheus. You're always going to try and play it to Orpheus's the left of his card in play. And if anything matches, whether it's the color to the note, the flow, or a charm, it would be played there. But if those don't match, you play it to the right of them. So you have to be really conscious of what you're keeping and giving to him, because in the solo mode also, he has universal rule bonuses and you don't. So you can kind of see at the top of this card, he has the X, which means he has double parts values to start the game. And then also, if you beat him in the first round, he flips over and enrages and gets a second universal rule bonus, which makes him even harder to beat, which says that any of his single parts are actually 4 points instead of 1, which they normally are. So he gets significantly more difficult to beat in the solo mode.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, nice. Evan, do you?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Well, I'll go
Let's
first.
do it.
I always go first, right?
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
Okay.
Rip it up.
I like it.
Well, I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's a fun game. It's let's see. So I'm curious about the double draft. Did you initially do it just as a single draft per round and decided the route was an important concept? Like, how did that develop?
So the design, I'm not the designer of the game, just so you guys are aware. I sign games a lot, but I work with,
I think I totally
this
missed
is
that.
the same designer of Mind Your Business, my friend Art Casey.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
So he designs stuff and then we develop them together, and we'll be like,
Yeah.
what if we do this or that kind of thing? But I would never give myself a designer credit, obviously.
Mhm.
Because I'm not a designer. I just help develop and like try and piss them off with different ideas I have.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Fair
So
enough.
I'm not exactly sure if he started one way or the other, but we did wrestle with the idea of like, what if, it kind of makes sense as you're drafting cards, you're playing a card in front of your siren and then building it out that way.
Mhm.
So we thought about that for a while, and that might be a variant we kind of add, because you really could play it either way, and it's just kind of like, well, which do you want? You don't, one's not necessarily right over the other. I
Mhm.
think the reason of the double drafting is, yeah, so you get a little bit of idea about what your opponent's doing, so maybe you can kind of hate draft a little bit against them, but not really, because you're literally passing them the cards and they're passing you theirs.
Mhm.
But it's just kind of giving you more insight into kind of where their head is or what they're kind of looking at doing. And then also with the universal rule too, it kind of like lets you evaluate how well they're utilizing that rule or not, or something along that lines. But yeah, as far as like where it exactly started, I can't tell you, but from the development standpoint, that's kind of like what I would tell you from there.
Okay. Well, I'm just always curious, simple game like this, like game, quick play, really, no matter the weight or length or size of game, I'm always interested in like, can we remove any needless complexity?
Yeah.
And one of the things I was thinking is the turn order is that's a lot of steps for a short game. And I was wondering if there's a way to reduce that. And the first thing that came to mind for me was, could you do a single draft, draw 7 cards, draft through the cards, and then play your song? Would it, speed up play? Have you tested that? Is it untenable for some reason? The one thing I do like about the 2 draft step is setting the route down and then building off of that route. So that's kind of nice. It breaks down the puzzle element of it and kind of reduces your analysis paralysis and keeps you from holding 6 cards and being like, oh, well,
Yeah,
I
it
I
adds
have no
to
idea.
when you build
Yeah.
the route too. There's sometime like sometimes it's like, do I want to leave, like if you have these 3 cards, it's like, do I want to leave a charm open or do I not want to? Kind of, it's like
Sure.
add some kind of decision making process there as well. Oh, I just kind of threw
What
him a
have you
little bit.
done?
Sorry about that.
My
Yeah,
beautiful
look at
song.
me. The heck with your song. But yeah, yeah, that's definitely like kind of a good point to bring up with it. I think it adds maybe there's a layer of added step or complexity, I guess, to it, but not, it's very basic and simple, so not too much, but it adds a little bit more meat and decision making to the game, I guess.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. Just something I was wondering if you tested. That's the only thing that I think because the turn order is pretty simple. It's,
Yeah.
reveal the universal rule, do 2 draft steps, basically.
I haven't.
Play 3 cards
I
each time.
personally have not tested just doing one full draft of cards. I have not since we started the development of it. I can say that we've tested because we have a few prototypes made up. We tested combining 2 decks and then playing a 4-player game.
Interesting.
And it still works.
Yeah,
But
cool.
the idea behind the series is it's a tiny game series and it has to fit in a very small box. People could, and I don't know if we're going to present this or really talk about it or just put it as kind of like a variant in Board Game Geek page or something, but it's like you could buy 2 and literally play 3 or 4 players if you want. And then we kind of snake like the drafting, or whoever wins decides which way, if they want to draft to the left or right.
Snake snake draft.
Yeah, and it was and it worked pretty well, so
cool.
That's something we definitely tested. And
yeah,
because you want to make games as accommodating to different group sizes as possible,
sure,
but also stay within the confines of what you're trying to do.
Yeah, cool. I just I do. Yeah, I like that too. I just wonder if this was a 4-step round. So you reveal a universal rule, draw 7 cards, draft 6, discard 1, build song. If that would, play any smoother, if it would reduce the teach, reduce the pickup time, whatever, reduce the rule book, whatever you can do to simplify things, if that would be worth doing for a series like this. It's just a question in my mind. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but it was the one thing that jumped out to me. The other thing, the only other piece really that I have of any sort of like critical feedback is the flow symbols. I think tripped me up because it's really about color, not about the symbols. So what do the symbols mean?
The symbols were an attempt to make it more colorblind friendly.
So
essentially, if you're colorblind, if they're the same,
fair enough. Yeah,
look, you're not gonna know. So that's literally, and if you look at the arrows too, they actually have the same symbol behind them. So it was an attempt to accommodate colorblind community, basically.
That's interesting. I wonder if you could combine those 2 ideas into one thing by making the arrows slightly different shapes.
Yeah,
so that's all arrows and colors.
Yeah, that's a possibility. We also the flow is something we actually struggled with for a bit, and I'm gonna see if I can actually. It will probably take too long to show you guys or pull it up, but it used to be, the flow used to look completely different. And it's something that we changed like midway through the project. Just because it was causing issues, and it was something we worked on quite a bit. So it's still something that like I like hearing like different ideas about. But
I could just imagine like a different diagram that has like the arrows are just kind of
even the player aid thing, that's a new addition that we added to it. So like we could even try and change that, or a hint, because sometimes people see that, and like I at one point through the teach or the play, I remember going like, no, this likes to flow into that. I'm like, no, that's a red card that likes to flow into this. It's not a yellow. I don't remember exactly how it went, but there was some confusion there. So yeah, it's something that like this part of the player aid, like we added that cliff into the picture so we could fit that to try and like help that aspect a bit more. I think the manual kind of does a better explanation of it a little bit. So again, once somebody kind of, and if you look here, actually, it's actually on the page for the solo. So it shows red likes to flow into yellow, but and it's color coded. And I don't know if that helps people more or not, but it's one of those things where I think if people read the manual, it makes sense kind of thing. And then it's just kind of a reference element versus me just teaching you it kind of thing. But yeah, it's something we worked on for a while and still, you know, I don't know what the right answer is for it, but it's kind of what we've gotten to at this point.
Yeah. Yep. That would be my only idea with it, or the only thing that I was like, maybe if it was just because the thing that happens for me with new games, especially when I'm teaching or like learning a new teach, is like the icon jumble of just like trying to deduce the icon and the structure of the game and put the two together always trips me up. And I think the reality was like, oh, I just need to know colors, or like there are two symbols here, but I just need to keep track of one. If that could be one symbol, I think it would solve a problem for
so it
me
could
that I was
be
facing.
instead of an arrow here, it could
Mhm.
just be the same green symbol.
Sure.
and
Yeah,
no
just match the
arrow.
just match symbols.
Yeah. I mean, the symbol's already there,
However,
just behind the arrow.
the one thing that is nice about an arrow is it communicates
Like we're
the
moving
mechanic.
forward.
It's about moving into the next card. But I think that's implied by it, the fact that it's a song anyway. So you may not necessarily need an arrow to indicate that like it's moving from one stanza to the next, or one measure to the next. But yeah, let's see what else. I was thinking flow and matching colors matters more than hearts, so why go for hearts? But then realized that is why I lost, and so feel fine about that. Not terribly concerned. Didn't like Evan getting a point, but like you said, it's 15 minutes and whatever.
It's more of just a thematic, like you sang a good song, so you get this bonus heart. Good job for
Totally.
being good.
You sang a
I
good
wonder.
song.
I always love the person behind having some catch up. Like I wonder if there's like a way you could add like sort of the same thing you do with Orpheus, where you get a positive universal rule that applies to the losing player. So they get a little bit of score acceleration or something like that.
Yeah, we kind of talked about it, a few times. I don't know. I'm almost at a point too, because like at Origins, I get so many people like being like, "Oh, that's interesting. Why the catch-up mechanism isn't helping the guy in last?" I'm like, "Well, the game ends in 15 minutes, so." But I've talked about it with Art, the designer, about it too, and it literally just came down to more of like a thematic reasoning. We kind of wrestled with the idea of, okay, you win a sailor, and now let's add like a little heart meeple to the game, and whoever loses gets a heart. So like we could essentially do that as well, so they have an advantage kind of thing. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Just something to think about. I don't
Yeah,
know if
no,
it,
definitely.
like you said, the feel bad of it is not that significant. But one thing I would like to know is if somebody, like, how often are games won 2-0? Like, how often does a 2-1 game happen? Is it frequent, or I mean, I've played once, so no idea.
So today, when I had to eat that Pocky chip that is still hurting my stomach, I actually won the first game, and then he won the next two. So
okay, so I mean, it happens.
Yeah, for sure. And again, the universal rules comes into play, and there is some randomness to the cards that you're being given in the beginning before you're passing them. And if he wants two cards and passes them, and then I pass them back, and the one he still wants is there, it helps their strategy. And then again, there's different universal rules that change it up. Like when the hearts are double value, like it's really important to go after the 2-star heart cards, so there's different element there, but you can definitely win from losing, because that's unfortunately why I was like really stoked. I won the first game. I'm like, I'm not eating this chip, and then I lost the next two, and I've been paying for it all day.
Nice. Cool. Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's all for me. Just thinking about if I was going to like putting on a publisher hat, if I was going to publish this game, the one thing that I would definitely try to resolve is the iconography piece. Because that to me, that was the thing that I'm like, man, uh, it's not jiving. The other things I felt, you could test them, try them if you like, but those were my thoughts. Otherwise,
So like the flow iconography, basically,
yeah, just make it
or
either
other elements.
just making it either matching symbols that are the same color or making them arrows that are different symbols,
Okay.
rather than having both arrows and symbols. I think either one of those would be better for my brain, but
Yeah, no, that's fair. Again, it's something we've worked on a lot and changed. Like again, I'll I'll pull up the original art and send it to you guys in like a DM on Facebook just so you can see it at some point, like how
yeah.
it started and how it's kind of evolved. But yeah, it's something we've definitely been conscious of it. And again, like we added this recently just to see. I was like, I don't know if we need it or it's going to help or make it worse, but I have a few more conventions coming up so we can figure it out. And obviously before mass production, we make any changes we want. So it's kind of been 50-50 to be honest, if I'm being honest with you, like an in-person convention or like at conventions where people play it, where they're like, it makes their sense or it doesn't, which isn't good. I don't want it to be a 50-50. I'm just kind of being like, that's where it's at. So it's like something we've been wrestling with and actually working on for a while.
Yeah.
And another element that's a little problematic is that the way the app works is it recognizes the card and the art on it now. So we'd have to like reteach the entire algorithm if we change the arrow. So I don't know how difficult that is because I'm working with an app team. I don't know how to make apps myself, but that's the other kind of hurdle there where adding the app was like, I don't know. Sometimes when it comes to app, I'm like, was I too ambitious with what I'm trying to do here kind of thing? But I don't know, I'm just trying to make a fun game and stuff, but yeah, that's just more story behind it, but I totally understand it and it makes sense.
Sure.
Like I totally valid. It's something like, I don't know what the right answer is for it, to be honest, but
yeah,
I appreciate you bringing it up.
The other thing that just came to mind as we were talking about this is if you do the catch-up mechanism thing, you could offer variant play where in one version of the game, you give a heart to the person who's ahead. And in the other variant, there's a symbol and the player who's behind gets this bonus, just like Orpheus, where it's like either a Chi or a Epsilon.
I kind of like that.
Yeah. So
because that was one of the things too, to dig into it more, I guess the universal rule, it used to be text on the card, and then we changed it to the little symbol at the bottom with a universal rule card. But I was like, why don't we just add it to the back of the card, and then in theory somebody could learn the deck and know exactly what's happening. But if it's the card you're winning from a universal rule and then it's an opposite universal rule that somebody's getting advantage on, yeah, that would change up the game a lot. I mean, we'd have to seriously balance that with all the different universal rules in the game, but that could be a really cool thing to explore for sure.
Yeah, just something to think about.
Depth. Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, so those are my two big suggestions, I think. But yeah, otherwise, great game, Matt. Really fun, simple to play, easy to learn. Had fun playing it, despite losing to Evan. And love the art. I like the way that it all flows together. That is really beautiful and very satisfying.
You didn't get to hear your song.
So yeah, that would have been really nice. Yeah.
Evan's gonna sing them now.
Yeah. That's how it works.
Sure.
Have you never seen one of our podcasts before? This is
no.
Now is the time that I sing.
Yeah. All right, Evan, you're up for feedback.
Okay. Too bad, Evan.
Jeez. So what do I got? Just the font, the typeface on stuff is hard to read. Okay. So as a reference document, that's not great. I do get that.
So like the universal rule and player aid, but the manual font. How do you feel about that?
I was talking about the player aid stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the player and the universal rule.
Score tracker's okay.
It looks like the font in the manual is totally legible. I think for score tracker, it's totally not a big deal.
Right.
Because it's all has reference points, like you can figure out what number was before it and after it, so you know what that number is. So I don't think that's going to cause anybody any issue. But just that font, that all caps um, font style, it's just really hard, at least for me to read.
I've gotten that before, so it's another one of those things that we've been thinking about.
Yeah.
And to be honest, if we want to change the font on these just to see what it looks like quickly, it's not a hard thing to do. So
yeah,
I think it's worth doing.
It
but
is thematic.
You're definitely not the first person to say. Yeah, that was the thing. Like,
right.
Let's stick to the thematic of it.
Right.
And that's obviously why the manual does not have the thematic text, because it's like, this is a manual.
Yes.
Right. But yeah, I've heard that before because I've kind of shared it. I think it was the Board Game Design Lab or one of the other Facebook groups, and people, 50% of the people were like, I hate the thematic font on that. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And I think too, I don't know if you're vision impaired or anything, but for people that are, it might definitely make it more difficult as well.
I am dyslexic, so I don't know.
Okay.
I know there are some fonts that are better and worse for that, but I don't actually know any details. I assume this font is worse for that because I find it difficult.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know if that's actually true.
Yeah, so no, that's definitely something. Like I said, I think we could easily, even just these 3 cards, just have them printed at the Game Crafter or something, or even just a print and play and slide it on top of a sleeved card and see how that does.
You see what people say.
Yeah, so as you know, I'm going to Gen Con, and I have 8 2-hour sessions for Sirens and Kalahari, my newer game. But for each Sirens demo session, I have 3 games at the same time at the same table, because
sweet.
it's only
awesome.
so I can get a lot in. So maybe I'll do one set where the card doesn't have thematic text and the others does, and then kind of show it between each group and be like, which one do you prefer, kind of thing. And then that would give a lot of a good feedback on how, I mean, that would be a small demographic, but it's something I've heard of. So it's just another thing to be like, okay, it's like one of the things, like, we want to get feedback on, see what more information is about.
Cool.
So I'll definitely do that.
I was totally agreeing with Jack about the flow. If you had one icon that matches up or doesn't match up, I think that would be a lot simpler for my brain, because I already know what color the card is, or I should, based on what's at the top of the card. Right? And so if that's not strong enough at the top, I would strengthen that rather than add other yellow things on it, like multiple spots to try to find the color. I would just make that one more obvious if that's not obvious enough.
So you mean like this green fish here, or the yellow angel? You don't really like that on there?
I'm mixed on that. I was talking about these symbols here.
So you're saying like green circle wheel here with a green circle wheel here.
It doesn't have to be green. It doesn't have to be a circle wheel. Just some icon that either these 2 cards match up or they don't match up.
Oh, so do you mean like almost in kind of like the charm?
The very same way.
Okay, gotcha.
And it's, between yellow and green, those symbols match. Between, green and blue, those symbols match. So it keeps the same exact mechanism. It's just a lot visually easier to see what's going on.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then you're not, I don't know. Yeah. So I was agreeing with Jack on that. And then if the symbol here is really necessary to help you identify what color the card is, maybe that just means that this isn't obvious enough up here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think, again, too, it's like a little bit to do with the color blindness as well.
Yeah.
I think that's like the other kind of reasoning behind it.
Right. Like,
we try and always make things color, and there's only so much you can do to make something colorblind friendly when
I guess
it's
what
based
I mean
on
is,
colors.
I want to look I want to look in one place to find a piece of information. And if that piece of information I'm looking for is what suit is this
Spread
card?
out. Yeah.
Put that here. Whether that means those all need to look different based on their color or whatever, don't make me look in more than one place for that piece of information.
Fair.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like you can alter
absolutely.
those by color. You can alter the art up there for each color to make that obvious
True.
if you need to.
Yeah, to accommodate the
Also-
colorblind community as well.
Also on that point, to Evan's point, like these art pieces are cool. Like they're thematic. Like, what if you just took away all the other symbols? Do the little art pieces stand on their own to help with that sort of flow? You know, like if you didn't have these left and right sided symbols, and it's just like, you know, green goes to blue. Maybe you need, but whatever. It just, I like those pieces, and I think they're very thematic and cool. And it could be cool to like make them useful, you know.
Right. So it's like green fish here, blue fish here, but they're both the same fish icon.
And they
So
match.
I know
Or something
that
like
those
that.
cards
Yeah.
match because they have the same thematic fish jumping out, or yellow Pegasus. Oh, I deleted the card or something.
And it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And goodbye.
That
or
Pegasus
yellow
was pretty sweet.
Pegasus and green Pegasus next to each other,
Sure.
or whatever it might be.
Yeah. Yeah,
There
that
it
could be
is.
something like that too.
Yeah, that could be an answer to that as well.
Now I
Found it. I pulled it back.
I don't have a ton of knowledge manufacturing wise. I would love for those faces to be incorporated into the bleed so that they actually match up. But you know, as when you're talking about drift and cut, you know, like I don't know
Yeah, the
how
bleed.
feasible that is or isn't, but I would love for them to actually, you know, not have that that rim around the outside between.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No, I totally get that.
If the
what you're
printer
saying.
says that, you know, if the art with how the printer's variances and allowances makes it work, I would do it. If it doesn't work, then obviously you got to do that.
Yeah, no, because it's something the graphic designer and I were talking about,
Yeah.
and even with the designer of the game, we were talking about it too. And we could go for it, you know, but I think the majority of them would probably be okay. I don't
Right.
think any of them would necessarily be perfect.
Mhm.
And then the ones that really got jacked up would be bad, you know, or we're like,
Right.
and we're talking like literally like millimeters. So
Oh, yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's cut off by like 1 millimeter the wrong way or two, and it's like that's a bad kind of thing.
It could be.
And
yeah.
these are also not exactly. These were, I took I used snippet from my computer screen with the art on
Yeah,
my
yeah,
computer. Like I just kind of like really kind of did this poorly. So
yeah.
I'm imagining this gap is going to be a lot smaller, to be honest. Like maybe half on each side. So
Yeah,
even
that'd
then,
be a
it's
little
a lot
better,
more
yeah.
tolerable. But this is again TTS, where I just was literally I used the snip tool with the art that was sent
Yeah.
to me to like import it.
Yeah.
But when the
Totally.
bleed and all that's accounted before, I think that's
Yeah.
literally going to be kind of halved.
Okay.
So.
All right. Not quite as wide.
Because yeah, it is pretty, you know, right now is a
Pretty
pretty
far
big
apart, yeah.
kind of gap there.
The wild flow, it threw me off. It didn't make sense that you pick a color and then you have to reference another card to see what that color flows into. Like I'm like in my head, if it's a wild card, it's a wild card. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like it should do what a wild card does, which is it is all the things. It is any of the things. But I also understand that might not be very balanced, and so I understand really why you chose to not have it do that. But that was
So maybe
what
wild's the wrong term.
yeah, that was what my brain went to. It was like, oh, that can be any color, you know, rather than oh, these symbols have to be associated with the color you choose for the card, and then you reference a card of that color to see what it flows into. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's when I've done plays with people, that's been another kind of area of that takes a little bit more explanation to like, I'm like, oh, if you say this is blue, then guess what? This icon and this icon also are the same on this card because it's a blue card. So yeah, I definitely get that as well. So maybe wild's not the right term for it, but again,
or you
we
can
don't
alter the card in some way to make it work that way, or make it worth
Well,
putting
it would
minus
be.
hearts or whatever. I don't know.
Have you tested that though, Matt? Where you have to choose the color of the card for this
But the flow
continuity,
matches anything.
but the flow always matches.
I have not.
Because it would just be
wouldn't
interesting
a
to
separate
see.
rule. You would just say it always matches. Like you just
Yeah.
pick which one it matches.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, you say that's a blue card, but this counts as a flow. It's a card. This is a blue arrow into a blue
Could be,
icon, and then that's flow.
yeah.
It just I think it makes it a lot stronger too. So we'd have
It
to
does.
test it and see if
Right.
it's balanced and all that, obviously.
Yeah,
but
it would need some sort of detriment or something for sure.
maybe it's a terminology change, but as well again, but there'd be a balancing
Or maybe
check
the
there
wild
nonetheless.
cards like break the flow and you can make them even better or whatever. I don't know.
Or you remove the heart.
Flow multiplier, maybe.
Yeah.
Or you remove the heart.
Yeah, no heart, but flow multiplier or matches any flow. Definitely
Yeah.
options to
or totally remove flow from that card, or who knows? I don't know.
That's true.
Yeah, well,
it always
originally,
breaks the flow.
Yeah.
our wilds didn't have the flow icons at all. They were just blank there, and people were confused by it. So then we added them in as well. So it was another one of those things where
People
like,
get
well, let's see
confused
what
anyway.
happens with this. So
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So this thing here, to me,
Yeah, that's a new thing.
Yeah, to me it's not helpful because it's like it's on the card, and and this in and of itself doesn't actually give you any extra information. Because when it's relevant is when you're holding the card and trying to decide which card, and you're looking at the card and has it on the card. So to me, I don't think you need it on the player aid, but that's my personal opinion on it. Because you were saying you just added it.
Yeah, it's new. And then we were even thinking, like, again, I was thinking about changing the color of the arrows from just the white to actually color coding them.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if that would help or not, and or necessary. Like, again, it's literally something new. We added to it just to see if it would help or not. And again, it's one of those things too. I've only had one person blind read these rules and then try and play it. And they did have some questions and stuff. So I'd be, that's like, I think the final kind of step is like, hey, read this and let me know what questions you have. And then if they keep going, like, I don't understand flow, you're like, okay, it's like, we really have to do something or change something about that aspect of this, because
I think it's
you're selling it and people get it and then they're reading it and they don't know the game and they're having that question, then that's a problem kind of thing. So I think that's something to test. But yeah, I've always kind of been on the fence about this. It's more of like, what's happening with this? Is it working? Is it not? Kind of thing.
So these icons here, if you
the
have
extra stuff,
if you have these other things in that row, they're confusing to me.
Gotcha. Okay.
Like, this seems like it does something. This seems like it does something. This seems like it does something. This just looks cool. This just looks cool, and this just looks cool.
Right.
Because it's not in that row of otherwise pertinent information. It's in the art. So if you do something like remove these and just make matching symbols here between the cards, I think that would make the art up in that area not confusing.
Yeah. Or we could even raise the art up a little bit or lower as well.
Or
so
lower,
it's not in the same exact line.
Right.
Because it looks like everything that can fly is like, exactly in that row.
Information? Oh, wait, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's what you said. What's this angel thing?
Yeah,
like, it's a secret bonus I didn't tell you guys
like
about, and you win the game.
Angel plus 2 points.
No, you win straight up. You got the angel card out of 18 cards.
Who wins ties?
Right now we have the ties are congratulations, replay another round.
Okay.
I don't know the exact wording in the manual, but it's like the game's so short, and
that's fine.
Out of the many plays I've done, I've maybe had 2 ties out of so many that I have, and I'm like, congrats, you get to play another round. You know, you both sang so well. The siren was confused and drowned. It didn't know which side of the cove to go to.
Yeah.
Or you could have it so that each player takes a card, so they both take a sailor, which would immediately end the game.
Yeah,
if
true. If somebody
if a
won the
player is
first
ahead.
round.
Yeah.
Right.
Which I don't necessarily think is bad. It's kind of the same thing as this, where it's like the player who's ahead is a little bit ahead.
Yeah.
But
The bottom border, just for me visually, is too much.
Yeah.
Like it draws my eyes from the otherwise pertinent information.
Yeah, what if it matched the top border and then it had that gap with the universal rule in the middle of it? I kind of almost was thinking about making the universal rule a little bit bigger so
Yeah,
it stands out
yeah.
more.
yeah,
But if it's like if it matches the top as well, then it's like this it's a border. It's a border. It's
right.
not, I don't think it will confuse you as much. But yeah, essentially the role of both of them, this is a border, and also
Right.
they're color coded
Yeah.
just kind of be like, this is a blue card,
Yeah,
you know.
totally. It's just like just the pattern itself is very distracting from the useful
Yeah.
information on the card.
We were also arguing, or well, not arguing, but we were also discussing adding a QR code into those. So when the app could read that better.
That was actually one of my notes where if you were having trouble, with the app reading, that you could just have like a little QR code down there.
That's something we were discussing for
Yeah.
a long time.
Yeah.
Now it's like, it's weird that, again, like that whole app development thing has been really stressful and a lot of workload.
I bet.
Because I don't know anything about it. It's my
Yeah.
first time getting after it, but
Yeah.
and they're expensive. But
Yeah.
originally there's apps out there that can read each note in sheet music and play the song to you in tempo and
Right.
everything's correct. And
Yeah.
that's what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
And I talked to a ton of people. The person I was working with or agreed to finally was like, yeah, I can build that. And then like 2 months in, he's like, oh, I can't do that. And I'm like, what the hell, dude? That's why I went with you.
I had a similar experience a long
Which was
time
really
ago.
annoying.
Yeah.
He literally just lied to get the job, right?
Right.
And then it turned into, all right, well, I can, if we take a picture of the cards, it can recognize the art on each card, and
Right.
we can assign a unique audio to each one and
Right.
play that.
Right.
So
yeah.
But yeah, so even QR code would serve the same purpose as well.
Yeah.
I think if I change the bottom, I'd probably change it to mimic the top
Yeah.
because it has that nice open area where you could put the universal rule in and kind of highlights it so it stands out as well.
Yeah, I would argue with graphic design. I'm a big fan of minimalist design as much as possible, and this is very ornate.
Right.
But one of my thoughts is always like, if it doesn't serve a purpose, could I just remove it? And probably you would emphasize this beautiful art on the universal rule by just removing this border entirely.
Completely. Yeah.
You know, so all that's down there is the universal rule, and there's nothing else to look at. And then when you're trying to determine the color of the card, you look at the top. When you're trying to determine the universal rule, you look at the bottom.
That's what I had in mind, but
yeah,
but
I'd like to
that's
see
just
that, actually.
my preference. Yeah.
yeah, me too.
No, that sounds.
Have you looked at how the Greeks used to notate music?
No, not at all.
Me either. But it just popped into my brain. I'm like, I wonder how they notated music, and if that would be cool and interesting to bring into it, or if not at all. I have no idea.
Like as far as like the look of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think too, again, as it's been progressing a lot, this art and stuff, it's like we really wanted the app to, I could show you the apps that do it where it reads each note and plays it.
Right.
That's really what we were going for. And these notes actually used to be like the blue card used to be, the entire note was just blue, didn't have like the black in it, or the green didn't have black in it.
But then, yeah.
But those apps
actually
weren't
look like the music. Yeah.
right, and it wasn't able to pick up, especially with the yellow, wasn't able to pick it up at all.
Yeah.
So we were just trying to make that aspect of the app work because again, the game is good and fun on its own, but I think I just tell everyone the app is the kiss on it, and we really wanted that marketing and selling aspect to the game. Because it also, I think it brings in another like niche demographic and market as well for it. But yeah, that's just more information, I guess, behind the notes of it.
Yeah.
One other thought
idea.
with that,
Yep.
because initially when I first saw the cards, I was only looking at the notes to determine the color, and then saw this up at top and was like, oh, okay, that's how. I was just thinking about this and just didn't want to let it slide. The gold accents, like maybe those could be removed and just made all blue.
Yeah.
Might be easier.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Just
that could, because then it just helps make it look more like the card that it is. And to be honest, in the beginning, they weren't, it was just the notes and the arrows that had color to them. And then we added it more as well through feedback and stuff like that, just to make it stand out more.
yeah.
But,
And I get that that's very thematic too, like that goldish
Yeah.
color, but you have so much of it like here on the backs
yeah, that's
that
true.
it wouldn't be missed, I don't think. Yeah.
We needed to do this literally like 3 months ago. Or 4 months ago would have been really good. I'm definitely going to try and implement some of this stuff, but some of them might be a little bit more difficult than
Right.
others.
Yeah, test with us earlier next time.
Yeah, no.
Just kidding.
Well, the good news is I have this awesome game called Kalahari, where I just added to Board Game Geek. It just got added to
Nice.
the Gen Con preview list, and I came up with the description for it. I'm very proud of it. So if you guys read it and tell me how you feel about that, I'd be happy to hear that. But
Nice.
yeah, that one I'll get like an early version on TTS, and maybe we can schedule something for that, because that would be awesome. And obviously we're gonna have some like prototype art for the con, but it's something that's, we understand, isn't like final. And then I have a good friend who's going to help me on graphic design, who some of you might know, and his name's Ammon.
I've never heard of him. Never heard of him.
So I'm really excited for that. I just talked to him the other day, and he's like, dude, let's get it going.
That's
so
awesome.
we're going to talk more about it at Gen Con, because obviously he's super talented.
Yeah.
And great at what he does, and we're just buddies. So
yeah,
we're gonna
that's
collab
awesome.
on graphic design elements for that game. So
yeah,
that'll be really cool.
Nice.
But
that's great.
Yes, I will talk to Evan about getting that demo session
for sure.
early on.
Okay, I got 2 more things for you.
Let's hear them.
Okay, so just going to the double draft thing. If you want options, you probably have already thought of these, and I believe one of these you actually said that you wanted to try or have tried. That one is you start with 7. When you pick one, you lay it face down, and then you pass. And the laying the face down, face up. And the laying face up is where you get the player interaction, and you're looking at what they're building. And when you lay it down, you have to choose right or left side of your current thing, and that breeds that player interaction.
Yeah, that's been a kind of a variant idea that we've been wrestling with. We do have 2 universal rules that, as you draft cards, you play them to the board face down, which is a real big challenge for the game. But that kind of touches on that a little bit. But yeah, that version of the play is like a variant that, like, I think Jack said, do the 7 card draft, and then mine was, I said, we've discussed kind of like, as you draft a card, you have to play it, so because it's coming out of your mouth. That's the way I would.
That's the way I would probably
play
make that work.
Okay.
Or that's what comes to my mind.
Right. Yeah. No, that's something we've talked about for sure.
And then the other thing that came to mind is it's just a draw 2 and pick 1, and then the other card swips to the other player, and they have to decide where they're putting it. So basically, you draw 2 cards, you pick one of them to add to your thing, and give the other one to the other player, and you get their other card, and that adds to your.
So it's just eliminating one of the passing draft rounds. So like when you have it, you draft 2 to keep.
No.
Right.
No. So each player's going to draw 2 cards, draft 1, and hand over.
Oh, and then that goes in.
And then
so that's kind of how the solo mode works, basically. But yeah, no, I understand that. Solo mode, if Orpheus is here, so he starts with 1 card always.
Yeah.
and then all our cards are spread out. But into your hand, you would draft 2, look at them. If I want to keep this one, I give this one to Orpheus.
Oh, okay.
And
So
then
you're already doing that.
well, it's in the solo mode.
Yeah.
It's not the cooperative. But if anything on the left side of the card that's already there matches, you play it there. So this would match because the flow matches.
Yeah.
And then I would draft 2 more cards,
Right.
and then I
Yeah.
can build to the left and right of my song.
Yeah, exactly.
So that
That's
is
exactly
in
what I was
this
talking about.
that's in the solo mode. That's not obviously in the competitive mode, which we just played, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It came up to me as, you know, as another alternative. If you were looking for an alternative, it would be nice if the game played the same way with all between the different modes, but
Yeah, solo and competitive.
But you know, but if for competitive that way just isn't as good, then you know that is what that is. But those are what came to brain. Overall, most of my things were, you know, just final graphic design stuff, like usability, legibility stuff. Overall, it's awesome. I really like it.
Well, thank you. I like all the feedback you guys gave. Honestly, like it challenges a lot of things, and it's not really a challenge. It's like, well, what if, or like, what if we tried this? You know.
Yeah.
And I like that because it's going to be like seeing if that works well. So
Yeah.
I definitely want to get it Kalahari in here much earlier on in the process.
Sure, man. Yeah. Well, on this show, we tend to give lots of feedback, Matt. So I mean, because one of our goals is just to get designers comfortable with playtesting and receiving feedback and seeing what that process is like if they want to see what a playtest is like. But one of the things that I always like to ask because of how much feedback is on the show is what from the things that you heard from Evan and I, what is kind of like rising to the top for you? Or what are some things you're seeing as you look at your own game that you're like, man, I got to try that?
I mean, a lot of this stuff is things like we've kind of heard before, like with the flow. It's something we've kind of struggled with for a long time. The play order, the variant potential thing, or things that we heard. So it's like, it's nice to hear these things and see them to try and continue to make it better. I'd like to think that the flow has been made better since the initial way that they worked. But also just a few of the ideas that you guys presented, I thought were really good. And luckily this is all recorded, so I can rewatch it back to pick up on those. But there was a few things where I was like, oh yeah, I would like to test that. And like that's when I started saying like, or well, that's part of the reason I started saying like, I need to do this a lot earlier with you guys, because again, you weren't challenging anything. It was just like, well, what if this or that? Right. And I like it because like, well, what if I don't, again, like, and I said it a couple times while we were playing, I was like, well, I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer. It's just kind of like, well, this is the way that we decided to go with it because A or B was the option and neither one was right or wrong. It's just like, this is the direction we wanted to go with it. But yeah, I really like that. And then another thing that, and I probably imagine a lot of other people kind of struggle with this or work with it. And I noticed this early on last year with Mind Your Business because I told you guys I started going to conventions and stuff and all that more recently. Receiving criticism or feedback and stuff like that. And obviously not all of it's good or not all of it's relevant, or some of it doesn't, it doesn't really make sense sometimes. But also just like, and a lot of the time it does, and a lot of times things do get tested, but it's like knowing which feedback to take and not, and depending on your vision and view of the game.
Totally.
But also just like not being defensive. Like I remember like the first few demo plays of Mind Your Business in person, I was like hella defensive about stuff. And I was like, and I wasn't trying to be, it just was coming off that way, so that's something that I've been trying to work on quite a lot personally, and I think other people probably struggle with it too, because it's a hard thing to, and I don't know, you have to think about it from all different perspectives. This person's never seen this game before and they have a certain idea of how it should work, and again, that's where it comes into point. Like some feedbacks are going to some is this person thinks this should be an area control game and it's a card drafting game. So like I'm not going to take that advice because that's not the direction I want to go in my game.
Yeah.
You know, but then other times
sure.
they bring up like, well, what if you tried this? And you're like, yeah, well, what if I tried that? That's a good point. Maybe I should try that, you know? So, but yeah, that's something I've been working on a lot too. So I hope I didn't come off defensive or anything, but you guys came up with a lot of like, I was like, oh man, why didn't I think of that? Or you're like, have you tested this before? And I was like, no. I was like, but I wish I did.
I always like to phrase things that way because like sometimes, you know, you make a suggestion and they're like, yeah, I did that, you know, 2 years ago and that doesn't work because of this. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I don't want to go too far down that road, you know.
Yeah, no, for sure.
If you're
for
already,
sure.
Yeah.
But also too, it's like, yeah, I can try that, but I don't know what that would do to the balance, you know, but we could explore that, you know, kind of thing. So that's why it's better to, like I was just saying, like this should have happened a while ago. But
that's cool.
Good news is Kalahari.
For sure. Speaking of that, like your games, Envy Born Games, you as a person, how can people contact you? Like where should they find you? People want to play Sirens, they're interested in that, and your mini box games. Like what is it? What do you want to plug? And also, how should people find Matt Ryan and Envy Born Games?
Right. The best way to find me basically on any platform is if it's TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or anything, just at Envy Born Games. You know, ENVY, Born Games, all one word. Website, envyborngames.com. I even have a little tab for receiving submissions for games because I'm actively looking for tiny box games because, again, the tiny game series is meant to be a series where initially the thought was every year I would release 3 new games with different themes and mechanisms and all that. And I was like, well, I don't know if I can maintain that timeline. So it might be every 2 years kind of thing.
2 years, yeah.
Yeah. While I work on larger games in the background, I have Kalahari is a larger game than these, obviously. But yeah, I'm actively receiving or accepting pitches for tiny games and the box size. Like as long as it fits in the box, I'm cool with that.
What's your box
size?
Well,
it's 4.3 by 4.3 by 1 inch, so it's not big.
It's not, but you know, for the designers listening at home who are thinking about submitting something,
if you have a tiny game, I'd like to see
it. Your game has to fit into 4.3 by 4.3 by 1.
Show me your tiny games.
Ideally, we don't have to have a plastic insert or anything, so we can, you know, put whatever we want in there. But the idea was to work with multiple artists, graphic designers, get more people into the industry like that. But so far it's been really cool, well received. We'll see how the Kickstarter is and stuff like that. I have a really big announcement I can't talk about yet in regards to this, which I'm excited, and I can't waiting for a little ink on some paper still.
Yeah, I know, right?
But
we're not going to break any news here today. All right.
Yeah, unfortunately not. I was waiting for the email. I don't see it yet, so I'll let you know if it does come in. But yeah, there's some cool stuff in the works. And anyways, any social media at Envy Born Games. Happy to help answer any questions. Happy to receive pitches. I'll be at Gen Con, and I go to a lot of conventions. I'll be at PAX U and World Series of Board Gaming. I think those are the only 3. And Board GG Con. Those are the rest.
Are you? I'll be at BGG too. Are you doing? Are you doing any events at the World Series?
I'm not competing. I just have a booth again because I lived there. I lived in Vegas for 13 years, so I went last year because I was local.
Cool.
And had a booth, and then they invited me back, so I went. And it was more about I moved to Texas now. It was more about just going back to see friends and family and stuff. Yeah. Because to be honest, for vending, it wasn't great, but it's a really fun event. Vending wise, not great. Fun wise, a lot of fun. Met a lot of people.
I was very curious about it.
A lot of games. Yeah. It's worth going to. Like that's how I met a lot of different people and the industry, to be honest. And even I met AEG is based out of Vegas, and I met one of their developers there, Kurt. Nice. He's a good friend.
Nice.
And that's where I met him. And then every Wednesday we started gaming together. It was like we formed it. He
That's
had a
great.
game group and I joined it.
That's great.
And then I moved and I was like sad that I left the game group.
Yeah,
But,
yeah. Cool.
but
Awesome.
yeah, sorry, I went a little bit farther, Jack. Sorry about that. But yeah, those are some ways.
Awesome. Jack, how can people find you, sir?
NewKingdomGaming.com is good, and then just connect with me as myself, Jack Dunbar.
Yeah.
Social media, wherever you want.
Yeah,
Mostly Facebook. That's the best place.
Evan Halbert on the Facebooks and
Wait. How do we find you, Evan?
Evan Halbert on Facebook. Just like it's spelled on my thing. PortlandGamecraft@gmail.com. PortlandGamecraft@gmail.com. If you want to email me.
What was the email?
PortlandGamecraft@gmail. You got to enunciate, man.
.com.
.com.
Got it.
If you are a publisher who wants to reach out with the sweetest deal ever, you want me to design an awesome game within your existing IP that you've got hold of, I actually really enjoy doing that. And if you want to buy my games, go buy all my games After the Empire, plus some expansions, plus whatever else is coming out soon that I probably just hopefully am signing right now.
Yeah, buy 2 copies of After the Empire.
Buy 3 copies, at least 3.
Oh, 3. Yeah.
Just in case something breaks, and then you want to give one away.
Yeah, it might appreciate in value. So just hold on to it.
These copies are flying off the shelf. What's happening? Raise the price.
Order more.
Quick. But anyway, Jack, it's good to see you again, buddy.
Yeah.
Mathue, thanks for coming on, man. It was a blast.
Thanks for having me.
I really enjoy the gameplay.
Thank you. I'll be back in Kalahari if you'll have me.
Heck yeah, of course.
Yeah, it sounds great. Good to see you,
awesome.
Matt. Thanks for playing with
too.
us. Thanks for showing us your game.
Yeah.
All right. We are, and thanks everybody in the chat who
Trevor and TK Adam, thank you for showing up.